much for joining me. Paulina here, talking to you about this incredible transit. So October 2018 has a lot to do with stuff that we don't really want to do if we haven't shared enough in September. So have a look if you can now. What are you not doing? What are you laying off? What are you putting off? What are you not yet focusing on? And how are you not quite protected, not quite insured, or not quite safe, or not quite together with anything that you have going on in your world? So paperwork, numbers, practicality, all the ins and outs of relationships, everything to do with true focus and true strong connection points with life. Anything that is total, anything that is safe has to be addressed now. Are you safe? Do you have what you need? Are you being practical about things? Because here we are and we're going on a little bit of a ride. So I'm looking at the two charts in front of me now. I'm looking at the 1st and the 31st of October, trying to find the main theme. And here it is. Make sure that you start the second part of the year on a very nice, strong basis. Make sure that you are supported in what you do. Make sure that your concepts are safe and sound. Make sure that the new relationships, partnerships, and situations with other people are bound, connected, and just nice to be in. Just try to be as safe as possible and as tangible as possible. So keep your matters legitimate. Try to see the forthcoming events already. Try to have a look as to how it all makes sense in retrospect, and what it is that you might have to mind or do before we truly get into Libra, before we get into the middle degrees of Libra by about the 12th, the 10th of October. What do you really have to do to legitimize, to safeguard, and to hopefully really push into this dimension in which you are currently navigating? So what are the risks involved? What are the truths and the fictions here? What is that part of you, that side of you that doesn't quite belong where you're asked to be? What are the different phenomena that are taking place psychically and unconsciously that are pulling you out of good situations? What is it about you that is choosing negative vibrations sometimes over the positive vibrations? What is it behind you or in front of you that is worrying who you are? What are you still trying to keep peace with that you don't need to keep peace with? That's important because Libra is a peacekeeping sign. Where are you trying to navigate in quietness and subdued self-criticism, where you can just let it rip and be yours? How can you stop compromising the small stuff and start navigating larger frontiers? What are you still putting your mind and money and passion and time into that is not really worthy of your time? And how are you still bound in contracts? Because Libra is a sign of contracts. How are you still bound in contracts and contradictions that no longer suit your timeline or your story? And what are these different types of conflicts that you're trying to avoid? Why are you still tiptoeing around certain types of situations, subject matter, and people? And what is it that you are truly afraid of? Or better, if you are still thinking that you're afraid, are you still afraid? Maybe perhaps you are not afraid of things and are no longer immature about things, but you are still keeping to those immature patterns and boundaries and the different types of safety nets that you've created for yourself over time that are no longer tangible. So safety and the need to compromise here really needs to return to its center. We have a very, very strong cardinal expression here during this time. We have a very, very new relationship binding contract for most of us. We are still trying to reflect perhaps in a way that was our past. We're still making outdated friendships and relationships matter more than the new coming formulas. But here we have a few different formulas for us when it comes to people, contracts, marriages, and partnerships that are no longer the same as before. And now is the time to ask yourself, am I seeing myself well enough? Am I understanding myself well enough to go into the new? Or do I fear so much that I have to keep old compromises around? Am I still bound by the past? Am I still bound by my parents? Am I still working on things that are not worthy of my life? Or am I able to connect to that which is previously not really tangible, but the future may actually hold these types of contracts now on you? So for example, you might have a certain type of business or a certain type of situation that has enveloped itself in mystery, and it has become a very painful subject for you in the past. But during this type of October, you can actually unravel the mystery and no longer be afraid and no longer keep peace where you have kept peace before, and perhaps create new peacekeeping contracts with yourself on a more developed, more secure and mature basis. So also have a look at any kind of safety keeping mechanisms that you might have during this time, such as a silent treatment, walking alone, pushing yourself, especially this is very specific for people during this time, pushing yourself behind closed doors and being behind scenes for much of life, being perhaps undisturbed and wanting to be no longer relevant to society, not wanting to be around people, wanting to be left alone, all the time that you spent in front of the computer, all the time that you spent at work, any kind of extreme inner worship as well, so narcissism and self-obsession, anything that pushes you away from other people should really here be understood. And if it is a huge part of your vortex, and if you cannot ever imagine pushing yourself into a more social environment or opening up to a person, if you really cannot imagine it, and if narcissistic behavior has been quite a big part of your life, perhaps it is not such a good time to go for it and develop this further, or to try to understand the truth behind these types of situations, because Libra this year is a very numbing energy. It's not that conducive to real soul work that is going to come about November or December this year. You can also next year maybe develop a lot of your inner workings and inner worlds, but during this particular year I really do not feel that Libra has got the strength or the resilience to really look at deep dark secrets. It is just important to just now start to notice them, like, do I walk out before it's time? Do I want other people to understand me, but do I not understand other people? Do I feel socially inept? Am I perhaps psychologically too advanced for the position that I hold? Am I still trying to push myself back into the past, into the stories and rhetorics that no longer really contain me? Or am I too afraid to face myself? Am I creating an image over the top of myself? Or am I part of a narcissistic pattern that my family has held for maybe a long time? So all these questions you should be asking during this time. It is very important to see the false and the true when it comes to your social gatherings, the false and the true when it comes to your romance and your love life, and everything that you have kept behind closed doors should perhaps potentially now be open, unless it is really hard to face. So the year of the pig has a lot of long-term healing grounds for us, so long-term commitment to one's inner mental and psychic stability. That is all coming through in 2019, so don't worry, there will be lots of time to address any patterns that just will not move. But as I said earlier, October this year specifically for me feels very grounded and a very, very discerning time. So easy to make decisions that are ready to be made, or decisions that are practical and how they come about, how they come across. Practicality is the best to face during this time, but in terms of trying to look through your psyche, trying to define and pull apart the previous cycles, or to go too far into your family line to try and understand the different hereditary behavioral patterns and any kind of feelings of insignificance, any kind of stories of determination that went into the wrong field, or any kind of self-removal from that which you want, jeopardy of your own happiness and jeopardy of other people's happiness as well. All of those really harsh topics probably shouldn't surface now, but if they do, try to make it very, very simple, or very, very pure as to how you deal with them. So it's very nice to say I'm sorry. It is very nice to say please forgive me, I've done this, or like I have haven't yet, you know, quite mastered this or that. It is totally a pure time to give a bouquet of flowers, to pat someone on the back, and to be done with the story for now, because the digging time will come. It feels to me that Jupiter being at the end of Scorpio here in the last few degrees is not really the time to start the purge. We had a area where we could have purged a lot out of our systems and our minds. At this point in time, it is about counting chickens, understanding what Jupiter has helped you with during the Scorpionic return, and also to really feel free as you are. But yes, some unconscious, undecided patterns and also strange fleeting experiences perhaps that indicate that something's wrong can come up during this time, but it is really not a therapeutic long haul decisive time. Libra sometimes can provide that. Sometimes we have an October such as we had in 2014 where we could have really put everything together. We could have looked at our lives and we could have really understood all the different pockets of nonsense that we've been partaking in, and all the different types of behaviors that we have harbored over the years. But during this particular season of Libra in 2018, I really don't think so. I really don't feel that we've got the tenacity or the collective mind to really focus on old historical, ancestral, or unconscious patterning, not until probably next year. So if you like, please choose wisely during this time. Try to discern fast, see how your endocrine system is working, see how your first response is working. If you don't like the flavor of something, don't eat it. If you don't like the feeling of someone, don't go there. If you are trying to discern very strong topics, try not to involve yourself in anything too complex, because I really don't feel that it is one of those times when we are needed to really mull things over. I feel it is more about instant response and instant result. It is very good now to see the full picture of what you have, and out of that which you have, on perhaps quite a shallow basis or quite a practical basis, it is just really nice to discern. So very nice time for business, very nice time for speaking, for mastering of speech, very good time for mastering of your own work and ethic, very good to put everything into the right place, very nice time for investment, knowing where your money goes, where it's been and how it's done in certain pockets. Also knowing how to delegate your life, how to perhaps also archetypally delegate it, where to turn up, where not to be, how to put your best foot forward, and how to now know yourself via the types of groups and experiences that have been successful for you and have been given to you throughout the last few months of the year. So have a look at where you fit in, how it all worked out, who are the natural guiding lights in your life, and who are the natural followers in your life as well, who's learning from you, who you're learning from, who you're speaking with and who's speaking to you, where are you drawn towards socially and where you are repelled, how are you minding your business, how are you minding your presence and your sovereignty, what are you choosing your freedom to enable you to do in your life, how are you choosing to use the power of motion, how are you choosing to use the power of financial stability, how are you spending your everyday, what is the quality of your now, why are you perhaps still trying to do certain things that do not work, and what are these types of things that you really want to do that you still can't really commit to, can't really admit that you want to take part in. So it's a very strong time, very practical vibration. But if you are really stuck and you're trying to define and you really cannot see anything, we've got Chiron going backwards, we've got Chiron in this really amazing no man's land between Pisces and Aries at the moment, and he's going backwards, as well as Venus are walking backwards as well. We have a very nice time to face the truth in a new way, but this is only, how can I say, it's not collective, it is only based on one's own mind, perhaps one's own prayer, or one's own specific archetype of the healer. The archetype of the healer between Pisces and Aries here gets reformed. So where you find healing and who you find healing through could be totally different for you now than it was ages ago. It is not really about seeing that same psychic as your family has seen anymore. Perhaps it is not about walking and maybe shopping as part of therapy. You know, it's not really about perhaps talking it out loud to yourself as part of therapy. Maybe sexuality is not as therapeutic to you as it used to be, or maybe it is. Perhaps, for example, buying and selling or experiencing a certain type of success is not as therapeutic as it was. And also perhaps certain types of adventures that used to really blow your mind and make you feel connected to your whole core. Those ideas, like, you know, old ideas of innocence have been replaced by new ideas of health, vitality, and that which makes you tick. So have a look as to how you can perhaps on your own journey, in your own time, find healing. But this is totally, truly not a good time for collective mourning. It is not a good time for trying to do a workshop on soul journeys. It is not a nice time to try and involve yourself in any kind of shamanic therapies and anything like that, unless it is like a freak accident that you fall into something like that and it becomes a very, very perhaps unusual part of your healing during this time. But yes, truly, if you can, try to no longer ask the questions that are mysterious. Try to keep out of mystery and just have a look at what you've got. Have a look at your 3D life and how it's functioning for you and what is working well for you. And out of that, perhaps the best will come. Thank you very much. I will now go through all the signs by the Sun, Moon, Ascendant, and stelliums, and everything is in the caption section below. So there is a list of signs. You just click on the numbers and your sign will come up. Thank you very much. Enjoy. Bye. Hi Aries, thank you very much for joining me. Paulina here, talking to you about your month of October. Wowee. Okay, so quite often there is a time, and this is one of those times. There is a conclusion in the air, but you might not feel it. There is a certain type of stop, and there is a certain type of but, and maybe there is a new type of shoot, at which expense you might lose something else. So there is like something coming through, and as this very gently starts to come through, something else sometimes needs to close. There is something that happens sometimes with Aries is that they cannot see. So this is the first sign of the zodiac. Sometimes they cannot see and they cannot fully discern or perceive what is going on or what is up. It is very nice to get checkups during this time. It is so, so nice to get any kind of physical things sorted out. It is very, very nice not to turn a blind eye on any kind of phenomena that's going on. So for example, you talk to somebody for many years, they start to disappear, ask them why. For example, if you have your mother or your father or somebody who you really trust and care about a lot, and they try to no longer be of contact with you, perhaps they make themselves scarce, ask what's going on. You have to ask. If you are feeling unsure about somebody new or something else, let it go. Just try to see where your previous dimension is going. So this is not about things of the new. I feel that new comers or new types of activity, new types of information is already here, and it is just coming through. So let it evolve as it would. Don't carry on trying to discern or understand that which is new, fresh, and perhaps romantic, or feeling fleeting, or feeling too good to be true, or lucky, or loving. Don't try to concentrate too much on that. Just let it basically come in. You are very lucky with everything that is new and upcoming. You are very lucky and very lovely for everything that is fresh, as you are the first sign, you are the baby of the zodiac. But if you have anything of old, anything of the previous that is no longer connecting, if you have something that is dropping off, if you have something drop out, if you've got friends that no longer visit, or if you've got especially somebody in the house, somebody in the family, or something that you have, something that you own and that you've had for a long time start to disappear or dissipate, please take advantage. And this also goes for your physical health and physical stability. So you might here have a new glow or a new sense of glee, but also have a look if anything that you have experienced for many, many years, functional and well, suddenly stops functioning. Please have a look. Have a look. If you can, please see somebody about that. It is your choice how you deal with your health. As I've mentioned in the previous collective video, that we all find healing in different types of realities in different ways. But yes, it is very, very unusual perhaps for you to see one or the other thing completely fade. There could be also, I feel, a sense of nonsense with people. It feels to me that there could also be cycles with another or a group that are just ongoing cycles, and you're not maybe seeing that these cycles can really suck you in and wring you out. So for example, social psychosis, any type of loyalty and extremes with other people, anything that perhaps your spouse or your partner or your close friends, especially as we're going through your 7th house during this time, might do and might be taking part of. Anything that is strange that is happening with your friends and family, please consider what is going on. Start to notice things. Start to notice. So for example, if somebody's always crying, please have a look at how often that happens. Like for example, if somebody is in a narcissistic state of mind and they're repeating themselves, have a look at why. There's these closed loop cycles that keep on going around and around in circles, and these should now be seen. So for example, if you have a sister or a friend that is always temperamental, and no matter what happens, they will have a temperamental egoic fit every once in a while, and it just so happens that you are the one that has to take care of them while they're having a very, very extreme experience. Any type of extremes, any type of vulgar activities with one another, that should all now be seen and understood. Sometimes to transcend a story or to transcend a storyline, all you have to do is go, this is not personal. This is not like a private special experience. This is an ongoing cycle. And then this creates a smile. Like, oh, okay, this is what they've done last week as well. Or like this person will always mourn something. So you have to now understand that these types of cycles are very important to just understand and to take a few steps out of, if you can. So not to remain a rag for somebody, Aries. Not to be that friend that takes care of everything for another, because that you should never be. And the thing here with you guys is that there should now be a sense of autumn or a sense of awakening, depending on the hemisphere, depending on your heart and how you work during this time. There should be now a sense of wisdom. There should be something wise coming through. Either you might be now cherishing a greater meaningful prism on life, or you might have a concept that's sort of like shadowing you in a way. There is something that is in the past maybe that is coming back into the now. Perhaps you are starting to see your dreams and aspirations when you were a child coming true, or maybe not. Maybe you're starting to really count your chickens and trying to really understand what to do with what you have now. It's like time of harvest. In the northern hemisphere here, you know, it's like sort of discernment. Okay, so here are my chickens, here's what I'm counting, and what am I counting on, and what am I counting for? So have a look at things. Very nice to do your paperwork, your accounting, your programming, you're putting together. For example, you've created business or a website. Now it's time to spruce up and have a look at the potentiality of greater things that can happen out of that which you have. And also perhaps starting to count on somebody there who is truly connected to you. Starting to really count on that which has truly raised, or like has risen out as something you can count on. Starting to really see the true feeling, the true vibration in that which you have accumulated and that which you have kept, and what you have got now that perhaps later in life will flourish even more. So this is a little bit husk from the grain type of experience during October for you guys, but not just that. It feels to me that it is also cold hard cash and a discernment, and trying not to push yourself into anything new unless you are truly asking for the new. It is very good for the new to just come up and flower. It is very good for new neurological endings to form by themselves. It is very nice to have a newness to you now that just comes out of nothing. But if you are in some way investing or invested in something that is heretical or very, very strong as an experience, or a person or a blueprint, and you're thinking about shedding it all, please consider, as you are shedding a big part or big portion of who you are, who you've been in your life, you may no longer see the past again. So if it is a good time. Perhaps it is good to understand, respect, and to resonate with what you've already become and who you are already, or who you have already been. So Aries, please take the deepest breaths, take the kindest steps, and if you can, let the new become on its own, and let that which is new just naturally sort of formula itself around yourself. So let the new shoots through without too much interest or curiosity, but also take care of the past. And in some way, it's a very nice time to make sure that everything sits and everything fits. Thank you very much, Aries. I hope you had fun. Check out your moon, sun, stellium, ascendant in the links below, and I hope to see you next month. Thanks. Bye. Hi Taurus, thank you very much for joining me. Okay, so Tauruses have a lot of things on the mind. Try to keep them off the mind. It feels to me that this is a very, very difficult time to think. You could perhaps also think yourself in a loop or some kind of formula that goes around and around like a washing machine. Tauruses, please take your time. If you can, always, when in doubt, take your time and chew things over. Chew things over, perhaps not as a thought, but just as a feeling like, eat. Tauruses eat. So do things slowly over time. Enjoy a slow blooming process. For example, if you're in the arts, or you're like paper making, or you're crafting, doing something like that. If you like to garden, if you like to keep up with your home and other people, very nice to do things over time. It's like stirring into the pot of collective mind with everything that you do. Go to the gym, or go to some kind of a club or some kind of a scene. Go somewhere very nice where you can just slowly do things and enjoy things and absorb things over time. Unless you really are stuck. And how to know if you're really stuck? Where you are, how you are, it just feels wrong. You can't look at the things around the house. You cannot feel good with the person that you're next to. You feel tears coming through for no reason. You don't know why. An emotional sense is evoked by non-emotional things. If you're feeling itchy, or you have physical symptoms of annoyance, perhaps you might suddenly have a bout of allergies. You might just be allergic around a certain type of situation or a concept, or you may just be generally unwell. Tauruses, if you are feeling unwell, if you can't roll out of bed, if you don't feel welcome, or you're not welcoming what you have, please have a look at the greater map of life. But you don't have to do this alone. You don't have to do this alone. It is very nice to get professional help. Very nice to get people that are very onto it to help you figure yourself out. It would also be very nice to keep away out of anything crazy. So for example, esoterics, anything too galactic, anything too loving, anything that is too smoldering, I feel right now would just get you entertained, keep you entertained, but at the same time it might not get you clear on things that you might want to do in the future. So if you are getting some kind of a guidance counselor or friend help you through, make sure that they're learned, that they're honorable, that they have honor within themselves and they're living their life honorably. Make sure that you don't take advice from fools, basically, Taurus. But it is a very interesting time to open the big picture if you really need to, and take a few steps back. So don't take things personally and have a look. Okay, so I've done this, I've done that, I've got a lot to invest. Perhaps you have something about you that is very pure and very timeless. You might have something to really, really consider in terms of your work ethic, how you spend your time, the processes especially that you use to generate your income, or to create your art, or to generate any kind of life for yourself. All daily activity, the daily task has to be really, really understood and realized now as we are walking for your sixth house collectively. So it is very, very important now to have a look at how you are dealing with your daily job, daily life, all the processes that it takes to create a certain type of thing that you are working on. And on the other side, at the same time, perhaps take a look at you. So although we are going for your sixth house, take a look at you and just how you are. Do you feel like you smile? Do you feel a smile? Do you feel a certain type of arrogance about yourself? Do you feel a certain type of hardness about you? Or do you feel very soft and very malleable to the point where you don't know where you end and when you begin? So here you have a certain type of unconscious self-perception coming through during this time. And here's the thing, is that it might be very difficult to catch on to unless you learn how to use your senses. So this is very good for empaths and people that have learned to really connect to their physical responses. So if you're a Taurus that has mastered that, well done. And I hope that you can teach someone else how to do this too, or you can spend time with other people so they know how to do it. But it is basically the yum or yuck response. It's how your body feels. What are the different organs telling you? Do you have tension in your spine? Do you feel like your organs are going hard? Can you feel that perhaps your outer, your inner experience is not matching what you have on the outside? Or the inside, you know, do you feel a fear creeping up? Do you feel a certain type of tickling or an unconscious need to run somewhere when everything is feeling fine and relaxed? So all these sensitivities, all these perhaps original primordial talents that are coming through you guys at the same time as well should be noted and should be maybe placed in a notebook or a diary. So you don't have to freak people out in any way, so you don't have to perhaps parade these insights as the ultimate truth, but I feel that some of you guys are definitely starting to get very deep downloads and very nourishing understandings of how to be here on this planet Earth. So there is an old school knowledge coming through, primordial blueprints reformed, and here you are. But I would probably suggest, if you are getting an advisor, if you are getting a friend to help you through, it feels that having something too heebie-jeebie or like too loose and arty can perhaps give you a headache later on. So only ask conservative-minded people. Very good to go to a doctor if you're interested, to a scientist, to a mathematician, to a strategist, to an accountant. Very, very nice to see people that have a lot of mind for certain type of sciences, or that just have a very integral world. And then through these types of situations, you might actually evolve and become much more connected and worthy for your own sake, So have a look at your life, Taurus. Please don't go anywhere. Please don't freak out unless you're really sure that something's wrong. And if you do need advice, please consider only wise counsel. So thank you very much, Taurus. In other words, the psychic activity is through the roof, though you might not feel it or understand it. As you're the second sign in the zodiac, you're kind of unconsciously protected from a lot of seismic activity that is going on around you. So you're not really, how could I say, built for extreme psychic work, unless you have, say, a lot of Pisces or like a lot of Aries in your chart. Most likely, most probably, most Taurians are quite well adjusted to the physical world and are unconscious magicians and masters of the 3D. You don't have to go into that stuff. And I'm seeing quite a lot of people sort of really fly off the handle here. Taurus, your will and your worth is imprinted in the physical. If you don't like this, and sometimes I've seen in the last while, people really fight for their esoteric or their magical understandings, it is just not so good. It's also important to understand that we are swinging into a practical building upon the psychic developments that we've had since 2010. So the window of the extreme psychic mind has been contracted and connected to something else that is going to come back again. We're going to have extreme potentiality window come through with any kind of psychic work, but at this point in time, if you're going too far out there, and if you're building on nothing, if you're building on air, and also if you, for example, structuring your relationships, your communities, your businesses, your sequencing of any type, your career, your body on something that is made out of nothing, it is really important to see that now. So Uranus is going into the 0 degree by the end of October. It is in retrograde at the moment. It's going to the 0 degree of Taurus. So please take a breather, have a look. It's quite important actually. This is not for all of you guys, because some of you guys are guided to go into the ether frontier because it's what your soul has chosen. But if you, for example, are creating a brand, is it sustainable? Is it helping the earth and the greater community? You know, perhaps why are you very scrupulous about money that you do not have. Like, say, are you investing in a lot of cryptocurrency perhaps when your chart is not set up for it? Have a look at your chart. I've had like a few people come in the last couple of weeks for crypto, so it's important to know how you are building that castle that you're building. It's important to see, for example, are you using natural and good for you products? Are you eating natural and good for you foods? Especially if you're starting something new. For example, if you're starting a relationship, is it a fetish-based relationship, or is it a relationship based on greater meaning and truth? Have a look at the roots of that which you start, basically, during this time. And this which makes you feel like you belong as well. I know it's difficult. For some Tauruses, it might be kind of like a rude awakening to think about this, but what are the roots on that which you stand? So, for example, if you decided to move from the country to the city, do you really feel the full girth, like the full giving power of the soil on which you are starting to build? So have a look, Taurus, and please consider how you can get more informative and more practical advice. Thank you very much. I hope you have a wonderful month, and I will see you next time. Bye. Hi Gemini, thank you very much for joining me, Paulina. Okay, you don't need it. You don't. Okay, we are going into the second part of the zodiac year. We are on the 7th house, of Libra. So we are starting it all over again. We are making a few trips. We're creating new formulas. So we've gone from Aries to Virgo. That is the first part of the year. So equinox to equinox, and now equinox to equinox again. So starting with Libra now. Okay, you don't need it. You guys are like little magpies. I feel that you're collecting us, like people, you're collecting situations, and you are creating new types of flings and rhythms and parties perhaps that you're going to are not quite the same as you imagine. Perhaps you are investing in things that will not last here, or maybe you're taking on people as like part of your like job here on planet Earth. Perhaps you're feeling like a certain type of chaperone or escort for somebody else at this point in time, or you are feeling very free to just commit to different types of situations that to me look very eclectic and a little bit messy during this time. You don't need a Gemini. You don't. But you do. Sometimes if you don't feel the full force and power of what you do already, sometimes you might take on an unconscious project in a friend or a situation, even a thing, even a degree. You might very easily here start a job or a degree or a situation, a commitment of any type that you just do not need in October. So please have a look, Gemini, as to how you can really devolve this need to take on any more than you can handle, and how you can now perhaps handle what you have in much greater might and a much greater sound commitment. So commit to what you have instead of taking on more commitments. Gee. The best thing about you guys is that you can truly now, I know it sounds boring, it sounds bland, and it doesn't sound very interesting, but you can really now take what you have and take it to a much bigger spectrum, much larger. So for example, if you've written a few novels just for yourself, maybe it's time to get them through into bigger masses. If you have been working on your home for a long time, got a lot of Capricorn or Cancer in you, maybe it is a very interesting idea to maybe sell that home, or to build up upon it even more, to structure even more, or to consider a business and home renovating. If you, for example, have a person that you really liked for a long time and who was really available to you and was with you for a while, and here you might suddenly want to take on another project, perhaps it is not worthy, maybe it is not worth its time, perhaps it is really, really good to have a look as to how you've been working with time for the last 3 or 4 years. Where have you been looking? Where have you been delegating your time? And then here, something shiny or something out of nowhere, something kind of funny and something kind of harmless, and maybe even something from the future, something yet unknown, or something cute and crazy and curious, can really take you and not give you back. Or you can actually have a big shift of timeline that you perhaps don't need to have. And a little text message to a cute person might be that stick in the wheel of your marriage. You know, just a little project on the side might cost you your career. Just a little hullabaloo with somebody, a little fight on the corner of the road might cost you your freedom. You know, just a little talking back to somebody, like a few bad words, might actually land you in a very, very strange, uncomfortable situation. So really, 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 Gemini, why are you doing any more than you need to do? Also, a few other things for you guys. Don't tempt yourself into ridicule of another person. It is a very, very easy time for you, because to me it looks like you have more time than usual, or you feel that you usually don't have this time or this type of quality of time, and you're like, okay, I got lots of time now. And sometimes you know, idle hands, idle hands. What Gemini can do during a time like that is to get this itchy feeling, and they might, like, say, go online. They might abuse somebody, they might abuse their boss, they might take advantage of somebody else's ear and say a lot of crazy stuff. They might take somebody by the hand and swing them into a dance, which they then later don't want to dance anymore. They might take on commitments, as I said earlier, that they do not need. So please have a look. Idle hands, Gemini. What can you, I know it's difficult and it's really boring, I know. What can you apply yourself to, which you know that will fruit? What can you fix, and what can you grow even further into greatness that you already got? And how are you feeling about what you've done for the last 3 or 4 years? And this is it, basically. Some of us on occasion can spend 5, 6, 9, 12, 20 years doing something that we at the end of the day don't really feel completely interested in. And that's sometimes a normal part of life, and sometimes it's because we haven't really done the homework before we started that venture. And here we have this incredible Saturn in Capricorn. Here we have a very, very strong Jupiter conjunct Mercury by the end of the month. And Mercury is playing with Venus as well by the end of the month. And Mercury is almost conjunct the Sun at the beginning. So we have a lot of speech, we have a lot of neurological requirements. Suddenly we have a lot of things that we have to now say and do. We have a lot of speech and formula and action to take. So instead of escaping into something non-related, just please, if you have the guts, Gemini, consider it. Consider it. Okay, so for example, 7 years ago, I started a business. Okay, and this is no joke. Have a look at the business. For example, you have started to create a business based on animal industry, okay, like say cows and sheep. And now you perhaps feel like you want to go somewhere, you want to offer your heart to the world, you want to just fly off to England or Spain or France or Portugal, and you want to forget that. You know, you want to forget it. You want to pretend it never happened. Here you have something to really maybe own up for. Have a look at the industry, do some research. Have a look at veganism. It's nice. It's really nice to take care of your own connection point as well. But if you feel sound and well as your own self, because this is a very eclectic time for you guys, and it could be very nervous and very socially and psychically unraveling, but really take care. So if you are really not wanting to, say, spend more time with this business of yours, maybe its roots are not in the right place. Maybe your heart wasn't in the right place when you started it. Perhaps you need to research. So with cattle farming, for example, you might want to have a look at the history of that, how the animals are treated. Take a look at the barns where the pigs are sleeping and so forth, just to really understand what it is that you're involved in, and look it in the face. Look at it. Look it in the face. Really see what your last few years have established you as well. Where your project was maybe 3 years ago and where it is now, how it's maybe crumbled and how it raised. What are the statistics and the formulas? I know it's boring, I know. What are the statistics and the formulas that were part of the formation of this product or this project? How are you with it? And what are the unconscious webs to what you are still working towards? And why it is that you are somehow waking up to something new or something perhaps slightly unrelated to you, And what can you see in this? Maybe for some, it might be the cry for help that you never really understood existed. For other people, it might be a need for greater discernment and just some time off. So for example, instead of cheating on your spouse, take that time off. You know, instead of, for example, burrowing your head in the sand and not seeing how your accounts are doing, take a few days off. You have to cry sometimes. You have to grieve. There is something about Gemini sometimes that needs to feel intense emotions that are going to propel you to the next sign of Cancer. So you are ascending through emotional states and emotional unraveling sometimes. It is not okay to just push yourself into something that feels relevant and feels kind of funny and feels free and human, because you might be at a loss later on in life. So really take care of the past. Is everything sitting together tight? Is everything packed in? Are you capable to own up to the roots of what you have created, what you've done? Can you please take a look at your parents? Maybe have you maybe got something to do with the other side of life? Maybe do you have an addiction cycle, or do you have something that you don't want to maybe manage by yourself? Perhaps it is time to ask for forgiveness. For a few people, it might be also time to seek wise counsel, maybe to have some kind of like a religious or a spiritual gush. Maybe to ask God for forgiveness, maybe to ask another person for greater love. Maybe you are missing out on something here. Maybe there is an emotional crux to your current bland and kind of like shallow state of separation from the past and walking towards the future. Maybe you need to discern. And there are a few of us here also under the vibration of Gemini that actually really need to cry. Really need to cry and really need to ask for help. So have a look if you're one of those Geminis, or if you're fine. And if you're fine, you know you are. So thank you very much, Gemini. Please enjoy this transit, and please take care. Take care. And thank you very much, and I will see you next time. Bye. Hi Cancer, thank you very much for joining me. Paulina here, talking to you about you and your October. Just a few notes here. Alright, so you are not quite true about something or somebody. We have a very interesting holding on feeling. You might be not quite true about what you are. You might be not quite true about what you know or what you knew. And it might be that you're also not quite true about the people that are around you. So it's a very, very nice time to see who you've been and who you are truly in your world. It might be a little bit too late though. So holding off, holding on, wanting to tell the truth, not being able to say anything. Also, Cancer, please have a look at your health, your endocrine system specifically, just how everything works, the gut health, everything like that. What are you not too good at explaining, perhaps to yourself or the doctor? What are you perhaps not quite wanting to say? What you might feel not quite safe about experiencing or admitting or committing to? What are those moments? And who are these people that you're not quite sure how to approach, how to talk to, how to connect to? Sometimes Cancer has these feelings where they cannot quite join up the dots, or not quite walk into the situation and say what's needed. Sometimes they cannot quite commit to the next step and they put it off for way too long. Cancer, please take advice. Please take advice. There is a good feeling about those that advise you. Very nice to seek advice. Very good to ask a few people, what do you think I should do? Also, unless you're very clad with work, and I hope you're not, unless you're very clad with work, it is such a nice time to just start something relatively new. It is such a good time to build a new home. It is a really interesting time for a new member of the family. It is a very, very good time for that new advantage point. It is very interesting to find a new location. It is a very interesting time to shift into the now, into the new, a few ideas that you had in the past. So it's like you, for example, had a certain type of algorithm already prepared, you had an ideal or you had an idea, interesting to go through. But these things have to be sound, safe, and historically adjusted to accommodate you. So for example, if you found somebody who is very, very new and very light-hearted and hasn't got any idea about who you are at all, doesn't care, doesn't have any idea, doesn't hold any space for you, to invite them into your home during this time as we are going through your house of home and Libra is not quite good for you. Unless there's a historical, energetic, emotional, or unconscious reference as to why that person is here. For example, if you got a relative or a long-lost friend or a partner from the past life or something that is very, very conjoined with you already, an emotive on each level and just works organically with your life, maybe, but have a look if that's true. It is a very interesting time. Delusion, illusionary situations, or illusionary minds. Focus point is needed. A focus point is important for you. Take a deep breath. Focus. Where are you in your life? Where are those people in their life? Where are your thoughts leading you to? And what are you dreaming? Where are your dreams? And also, where are your reals? And how do you know who you are based on what you have in this very now? How can you really define you based on this perspective point? How can you really hold you based on this perspective point? And what do you kind of need to know more about, perhaps, in order to proceed? How are you moreish about things that are not true and negligent of things that are real? What are you truly doing to yourself or with yourself that is not quite a part of your regular world? And how are you perhaps escaping while totally knowing what's true? You might have here a total definite feeling. You might here have a total strong situation in here, but on the outside you might not be able to say no. If you could, please, Cancer, take the steps very, very carefully. And your inner world is spectacular at this place. It is spectacular. And everything that needs to be known is kind of known. And all those little feelings that are sort of like little prisms on the outside, all these little thoughts and all these little sort of like scattering emotions, you know, are just to scatter through. So you may not know exactly what's going on until you really sit back into your chair and feel that energy, almost as if from the past, navigating you through the now. So it's like you are driving and you're completely relaxed into the back of the seat. And when you have this type of relaxation and this relaxing moment, you know, and you always knew this time would come. And from this point of release and connection, from the strong kind of like, discernment that is not even yours, it is almost like an ancestral discernment. From this point onwards, you can see the light. So take care. Also have a look as to what are the different frivolous, timed or just separate feelings and jobs and ideas and conversations that you're having to hide, that really perhaps primitive but very strong understanding of what you need, who you are, and what to do. What are these little scattered particles? What are these little scattered thoughts? What are the things that you have in your world that are masking the true potency of who you are and who you've come to be for space and time? What are the cosmetic, the light, the frivolous, the timed, the temporary, or the unlucky perhaps, or the nonsensical things that are in your life? And what are those stabilizing, strong, connected, primordial feelings that are not going to be fleeting for long? What are those pillars that are really establishing themselves into the ground? It's almost like your soul house is growing. It's like your soul is stabilizing. It is already stabilized. It's just about discerning What are the just random chips of wood here, and what are the true columns? What's the true structure of that which you're creating? And perhaps it comes from the past. Perhaps this is a pattern that will one day return, or has already returned to you. Something could be now returned. Something of a peace, something of grace. There could be a sense of discernment that is coming upon you. By the end of this month, we have the North Node gently transferring into your sign, and it will be at the 0 degree. So we have our wishes, our truth, and our feelings kind of based on you on some level. So here you have something returning, and this kind of gallant grace that takes sometimes many decades to establish, coming up, coming out of the ether. So what you might hear be establishing is a very interesting sense of depth, an interesting sense of depth. Really perhaps dark time for some people as they're understanding their age. And for some other people, it is not actually vulnerable at all. It is just the welcoming of the coming of age. So have a look, Cancer, how you are discerning and what you are building from and upon which you have built so far, and what might need to no longer take your attention, because there's nothing more valuable than time and attention, and what you can now do from that which you have earned, or that which you have asked for, or that which is now being returned to you. So thank you very much, Cancer. Enjoy this month. For all information, please check out the links below, and I hope to see you next month. Bye. Hi, Leo. Leo, we belong to you. We belong to you. We are experiencing a doubt. We're experiencing a doubt. There is something that perhaps only you can help us with. There is a word or like some kind of story that we're waiting for, and we can't quite find it until we come to you. Leo, you make us belong. You make us belong in Libra. And not only just that, you make us know what we need to remember or forget. You make us understand the past, present, and future by just saying a few lovely little words, just by being yours. And you don't have to be anybody else to do that. You can just be as you. But can you really afford to? Try to keep your time free for others. You are the natural born leader, and you are the natural born light. You are the native, you are the nurturer, you are the nature, you are the autumn or the spring, you are the giving, you are the taking, and you are the end and the beginning for all of us at the moment. It is a dark time for all of us on some level, as we really being sort of pushed against the wall a little bit in Libra during this particular month, just to really understand and discern what the heck we have going on in our lives and what it is all about. And we are not really meant to look too far, too deep. So Scorpio is not going to be there for us. Pisces will, but maybe other signs are not really able or available to answer the call, and you are here. You are there where you need to be. You are more than strong. It is quite interesting. You just wave your hand and the problems disappear. If you can make it able to be often, and perhaps make it able to be always, because if you have Leo in your chart, and if you have Leo as your sun sign specifically, or the moon, you are kind of like a dome for us. You are the meeting place. You are the shaman, you are the leader, or you are the leadership over someone else. At least one person has to come back to you and report back to you. You are the lighthouse, you are the light, and during such a strange, weird time, where we usually probably wouldn't keep you in mind as the guru, we need you. We need you. And we need you to answer for us things that we never even knew we had to ask. So just be yourself. Over a game of golf, over a cup of tea, over some knitting, over just a walk in a park, over throwing a ball around, over a TV dinner. You can heal, and you can almost do it by default. So please take yourself less seriously as a worky bee, less seriously as a mother or a father, only in just one place and time, and more as a discerner of life. And we need you at the coffee shop, we need you online, we need you next to us, we need you available, and we need it now, because there are a few of us that really do not know how this world works. And what dimension we sit in is a mystery to us, but there is something that you might not quite know that you're doing during a time like this. It just solves it all for us anyway. So if you care to, please don't try to be anything else. Solidify yourself here and now. And don't have to be nervous, just be gentle. Be gentle. What do you like to do? Do you like to make bread? Make bread, invite a friend over if you can. Share your recipe on Facebook. Even help other people by doing a live Facebook video or a live YouTube of you making bread. Do things that just naturally belong to you. Fold socks and talk about God. If you care to, take some beads into your hands and make a necklace if that's something that you'd always do. It's a very beautiful primal tribal connection point here that we have with your heart that we cannot sometimes get anywhere else. And it is up to you to basically develop yourself into a certain type of center point for someone else's life. At least one other person. You are the center point, Leo. You are the center of creation. In this particular time, we cannot get enough of you. Even if we not quite sure how to exist on your level of life. Even if we don't quite understand how to take what you have said. Even if we don't quite know how to really resonate with what you do, even if we don't quite realize who you are on the outside or who you've always been, we will be there and we will start to recognize you through space and time for a long, long period of time probably here, if you can just believe that you are enough. Leo, okay, do you want to do the same thing again? Are you still trying to develop something that is not developable? Do you have some kind of business idea or some kind of cryptocurrency idea or some kind of like logistical idea that always takes a freaking long time? Do you have a process, Leo? Are you trying to tell us that you're not ready? Are you telling us that you are not yet in love with yourself enough to do something? Do you feel or fear that you haven't done the homework yet, or you haven't quite gone through the right process to get what you need? Do you think that you still need papers for that? Do you still think that you haven't done all you had to do to be at the top of your game? Well, don't worry. Look no further. During this time, you will get a glimpse of your heart. It is a very important time for us all to see you as you are. And no longer bastardize your energy with what we think or we thought you had to do. So we come to you and we have to be who we are as well. It's a very interesting, innocent barter system that you have with us during this time. We just have to be there and you have to be available, that's all. And on occasion for Leo, it's not actually the product or the design or the greatness that they create that is truly that which makes them. On occasion is just actually the person that they are. So the star that you are is what we feel most hope and warmth with. Not that which you do, not what you have done in the past, or how much time and patience and passion you have put into something. So it is also a very, very lovely time to just break free of the previous work. It is interesting time sometimes during a time like this to quit and to start answering the call of life organically. Maybe there's a person, a friend who just wants you to work for them, and it's not even work, it's just presence. How else can you make money or life out of presence itself? How more can you become natural and uninhibited to make your life feel like it matters? How much less can you do every day to prove to yourself that you're worthy? You're worthy. If you can, take part in shows and broadcasts, put your photo out there, just do it. You are starting actor or you're understudy, you're trying to do something, you don't really think you will, just put yourself out there and be like, this is me. This is me. And it doesn't have to be anything too out there either. You know what I mean? It's just about circulating your image, your language, your energy, your feelings, and your sense of the future maybe as well. So in all innocence, what do you think the future holds? In all innocence, what do you think are the most incredible things about this world? In all innocence, what are the most incredible things about you and what you've managed to learn? Even if you're very young, even if you're very old and you've never really even started your own thing, it doesn't really need any longer to be about what you have accomplished. On the opposite scale, accomplishment only shines you further, but it is you that you become, it is you that you formed, and it is you that you have learned to be. So you are, at this point in time, able to teach. So whatever you do, Leo, try to not on any scale put yourself behind closed doors. Try to no longer abbreviate your wishes for an easy life. Try to no longer be stuck somewhere behind a book or in the corner somewhere where everybody's having fun. Try to make sure you are outward with who you are. And that, I feel, is a great new opportunity or a beginning, or perhaps a ginormous shedding and a starting, which only comes from inner truth and inner work and the quality of the moment spent. So have a look, Leo. It's up to you how you do things, of course. You don't have to take any of this advice. It's just that it feels to me that the more open and honest and forgiving and comfortable you are during this time, the more likely you are to generate luck. You know, it's like the more you are, the more is attracted to you during this time. So thank you very much. I hope that you can be your true self and enjoy who you've come to be. And all the details are in the caption below, and if you need anything else, let me know. I will be here on YouTube and all the website details are also in the caption. Thank you. See you next month. Bye. Hi Virgo, thank you very much for being here. Paulina here, talking to you about your incredible October. Okay, whoa, okay. So to me, it feels like September and August, so your time wasn't quite rich enough in feeling. It feels that on the collective spectrum, there wasn't enough senses developed during this time. There wasn't enough information, perhaps, about the outer world that you experience, not through here, but through the very roots of your hands. It feels like there wasn't enough sensuality, or there wasn't enough inner work. And there perhaps could have been speculation, thought, continuum, sequencing, workloads, and just sort of like conjoined feelings with another, but there wasn't perhaps a lot of pride of self. There could have been a lot of products made. There could have been a lot of plans developed. Maybe there were lots of things undone and then redone. There could have been a lot of practical issues that were just conquered with the mind. The thing here, I feel, is that how you rock your world is totally up to you. But if you were one of those Virgos during September time, or your birthday time, August, September time, that didn't quite hear to their inner feelings and didn't understand their inner workings and the truth behind what you do, and the psychology of that which you are, I feel that October could be very confusing for you. So threefold, sixfold, sevenfold time. So multiplication of your own self-worth and your own innocence and your own stability and your own force and your own drive. So here you are. Libra can give you much more than usual. If you have spent long time speculating over your finances, it could give you many times more than you need. It's possible. But do you feel happiness there? Perhaps that's enough. Perhaps you do. If you have tried to, for example, traumatize somebody and tell them that they owe you something, Libra might swing it around and you might have lots of people saying that to yourself. For example, if you have done a lot of work on your inner senses and your inner stability and your inner world during your birthday time, or during the solar return, or maybe like even a lunar return, you have maybe done a lot of questioning of the mind. Perhaps you have done lots of thinking, lots of thought-based stuff, and what you receive from the world is just magic of the mind. You might be manifesting here and there, you might walk along successful, wealthy people, you might have much more for you than before, but do you really feel the full fascia, the full fascia of the situation? Do you really take in the full moment of now? Are you living, or are you just watching a film? And if you can, try to design for yourself no more. This is a harvesting time. We're going for your second house. So to me, this represents a beautiful time to allow, let go, and see what you've done during your birthday time or during Virgo time. If you say like ascendant in Virgo, what you have done to launch a momentum and discern what this momentum has given you. So this is ultimate karmic retrieval. This is the ultimate. So as you have said something, you will receive a very, very clear answer. It's almost like an echo. You receive a very loud echo during October time. Unless you really don't want to see anything. If you don't want to see anything, you don't want to start anything on you, and you're just doing, and you got to do what you got to do, that's okay, that's okay. But really start to see how a tiny little brush stroke can make a ginormous thing happen. How a tiny little word sometimes from yourself can cause a cataclysm or can cause intense growth. How a small dose of something can cause a ginormous expansion of something else. So we are micro-dosing here, micro-dosing and understanding what a tiny little energetic wave can cause. It is like the butterfly effect, really. So here you do many things on your own, perhaps, and here you might pull many strings. You might also kind of like strengthen up and try to pull a big old business, or you might be almost like a horse ready to plow. I feel you on this. Sometimes I do the same. Sometimes all of us people that are slightly different or slightly estranged do a lot more work than usual. On occasion there's people that work nights. On occasion there's people that work many days in a row, that have crazy hours and such. Virgo time was meant to be felt and discerned and connected to clearly, not plowed away at. So however you have plowed, you might continue to plow, but I would really suggest I would really suggest and probably even appreciate if Virgo could take time and feel and sensitize themselves to the work that they've done and how much more they would like to do with their time, rather than work and taskmaster, rather than problem solve all the time, rather than do the thing every day, every once and again, repeating old patterns, having to redo, reprogram, renew and reconnect. It is not good to argue. It is not very good to mismatch things for other people. It is not good to point a finger. It is not good to have any kind of irritable nature. October is such a nice time to find yourself a chair. Find yourself a chair, relax, and watch it all go by. It is such a good time to release, relax, and let it happen to you. And also, unless you're really stuck in the wheel of jobs, unless you're really stuck in there, it is good to make as much time as possible to relate, to connect, and to watch it happen, and to see how your actions, your words, and your dreams, what you've done, what you've committed to, your time and attention, and what you've really said and done during your birthday time, during Virgo time, has impacted the outer world to respond back to you. It's like you have emitted a sound, and now the sound comes back as an echo. What echoes matters? Karma. You're the 12th house now. Karma. So what you receive back. And here we have the classical story. The nice guy always finishes last. You know, the type of story. I've done so much for you, but you have done nothing for me. It's one of those times when you think it's always, the corrupt people that get the place, or it's always like, say, the good-looking younger girl that gets the guy, or it's like the the naughty gentleman, the wild man who gets the girl. You might have a formula that's there already. I would really ask you to have a look at your formula and how you perhaps have defined wealth, how you have especially defined power, status, luck, and all symbols of physical and social attainment, popular symbols of attainment, and how you've created these types of formulas that don't really matter to you anymore, but you may hide behind these formulas for a while just to feel like it's been worth your time doing what you've done. Isn't it so much better to notice the different formulas you have created in your mind and how you perhaps have twisted yourself around to, in the end up not the successful person, not the winner, but just the person who knows best for next time, and the I told you so aspects of your life remain. I told you so, I told you so. Of course, it's like the working horse, never gets the medal, or like, of course, the person that's always there doesn't get noticed, or it's like, of course, the person who is the bleeding heart doesn't get understood themselves, or the person that is the kindest in the group doesn't get respect, and so on and so forth. So the I told you so's and the ways that you protect yourself from the outer world, they have to now be known. So as you get during October, if you are experiencing a sudden gain, if you were suddenly given a big mighty hello or a big mighty opportunity, if you were somehow given from nowhere a difficult time, if you were given money out of nowhere during October, if you out of nowhere, as if out of nothing, have created some kind of story or met certain types of people, or have created a huge win or a huge loss, an emotional experience that was either positive or negative or nothing, something in between, take time and discern and have a look as to how your September could have generated what you get in October, and try to be philosophical about it. So for example, you've been working on your mind, you've been working on your charisma, you had a few life coaches help you get your mind together, manifesting, and here you might get what you need, but it is plastic and futile to you. Maybe take time and think, what is the flavor, the aroma of life that I'm looking for beyond money or beyond manifestation or beyond what other people think. Try to take advantage of this time and see the full flavor of what the world gives to you. As we're going for your second house, it is the house of Taurus originally. It is the house of flavor. So what is the flavor of your life? And how is this flavor connecting to you? So take care. Karma comes around quickly. Take everything curiously. Be curious about the world. Don't judge. If you have something come to you very fast or very quickly, know that sometimes supernatural experiences are the most normal ones. So if you receive here, if you suddenly are affected by dis-ease, or if you're suddenly affected by somebody else's words or actions, please take into consideration what that feels like. And have you done that to another person? Take care. Thank you very much, Virgo. Enjoy, and I hope this is a beautiful, fruitful time for you. I hope that you are given, and I hope that you are ready to receive plenty, and smile without attachment with anything that you give to yourself during this time, with anything that comes your way. Thank you very much. Enjoy this month, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Hi, Libra, fellow Libra, Paulina. Hi, I'm you. Well, not really. I'm just Libra as yourself. Let's talk about you. Okay, we've done it. We've done it. So the wheel is over. We have our first house coming through. Libra people, we have to be patient here, because not a lot of us are, how can I say, there or welcoming where we want to be and where we want to go now. There's not many people that can really mirror us as we mirror them. There's not many that understand that in Lakesh, you are another me, I'm another you. I'm another you, Libra. Not many people get it, but we are starting to. So it is kind of a very weird, unconscious time. It feels to me that after Venus has been for our sign, and with this incredible Mercury going through it, gosh, it's almost like there's no need for words. It's like everything is obvious and everything is very simple. And not many people at the same time mean well. And not many things truly quite connect. So the thing, Libra, about you and me is that we got to just release any fight, any stuck feelings, all the stories that we have caked up about who's done what and who's managed who, where things have gone, where have things been amiss, or where have things been too good to be true. Let it go, Libra. We get to really be ourselves during this month. This is an unfortunate time as well for some of us that are still grasping onto somebody else's life, somebody else's coattails, and somebody else's representation in our lives. So for example, if you think you're responsible for me, you're responsible for that, you've done this, we're all one person, Libra. And Lakesh, I'm another you. I'm another you. You're another me. Everything's already kind of set before it happens. Everything is kind of already done before it takes place. So the thing is that we are consciously, constantly adjusting one another, and the best way to give to yourself during this time and prepare yourself for a very lucrative November month, because we're going to go for your second house next month, is not to judge and not to also dumb yourself down. So if something's happening, just take yourself sideways towards a different dimension. You're noticing somebody taking advantage of your time, you just go elsewhere, just like this. You're seeing somebody's doing this or that, you just do this. It's about dodging. It's about dodging. It's like, you know, some of the best fighters out there are the ones that don't just push through. They're also lucid and gentle enough to know when to dodge and when to attack. So we are, I feel, learning to just no longer place ourselves in harm's way here, Libras. We're learning to no longer have to suffer. We don't need to suffer. We don't need to take care of another while we ourselves are depleted. We don't need to do that anymore. We don't have to wait for somebody to grow up anymore. We don't have to suck thumb and pretend that we're disempowered little girls and boys when somebody else is the mummy or daddy of our lives. We don't have to do either one thing that we were taught. We just have to understand and truly pick the husk from the grain and see where the discernment really lies, and what are the obvious things that we've understood for many eons. It's just that we haven't really quite yet been able to establish ourselves yet. It's obvious. Look, this works, this doesn't. Yes, no. So yes and no response. Does this make me happy? You know, does this make me feel beautiful? Is this a beautiful time that I'm having? Am I feeling the feelings? Am I feeling good? Am I feeling wealthy in every way? Do I feel abundant? Do I feel a sense of relief? Because we kind of are lofty people, Libras. We're not really made for the workforce. Unless you have a lot of like Pluto, Scorpio, and crazy things in there. It's like we're not really sort of like kind and gentle for nothing. We're not just like the butter and the social lubricant and the social glue. We're not just kind of like waiting for someone to say something to make us happy. We're not really like the waiting, begging prototypes that perhaps we think we are sometimes. So Libra, it is so easy. Discernment is right there. It's almost like stone cold. You know, truth. Saturn is in your friend cardinal sign, Capricorn. We have a very strong neutralizing feeling. North Node is switching to Cancer pretty soon. It's a neutralizing feeling. It's like, well, I don't really want to do that. So see what you don't need to do. Do you need to pay for this person? Probably not. Do you have to go to the other side of the world to receive something that you can have here? Probably not. Do you have to, for example, undergo plastic surgery and any kind of, say, hormone therapy or some kind of very strong medical commitment to get what you want out of your own physical body? Probably not. Do you have to, for example, bleach your hair to feel attractive? Probably not. Do you have to get braces or dentures, or like, say, get any kind of extreme reconstruction on your physical body? Probably not. If you do, have a look why. It is really not a good time to question anything anymore. It should be really obvious, and it should be very centered. What you need is probably right here, right now, for now. Just play with what you have, what you got. Count your chickens. It's not really truly about counting your chickens. It is more about knowing what you have in front. You know, it's like what you've got in front of you. What is in all the different boxes? You know, what is in every cupboard in your house? What have you got? Just what have you got? Where are you? What is your axis of stability during this time? And what are the different pieces and people and, you know, plays and music and, you know, all the different dimensions that you're exploring contributing to you? Like, what are the different languages that people speak around you? What are the different times of day that you enjoy doing things? What are the different pleasurable experiences that you enjoy? What are the different types of music that you love? What are the different types of cities that you love? What are the different type of maybe new age materials that you love to read, or maybe old esoteric literature that you picked up from the Victorian time? What is the type of stuff that you just like? You know, you just like it. You just like it a lot. And that has to be strong. It's like, well, you know, I like a piece of bread with some butter in the morning. That's true. That's okay. That's you. You know, okay, so for now, for example, I like to soak my feet in a lavender bath, and then put some lemon rosehip oil on my feet. It's just something I love to do. Do the thing you like to do, Libra, and admit that you don't want to do other things. So basically here you are, and it's maybe 50-50 for most of you guys. You know, 50% not really, but I'm still kind of there. 50% I love, but I don't really have enough time for this. So try to make sure that you fill your spectrum from bottom to top with that which is you. Like, I like theater. Okay? Do I want to go to a sound bath today or a theater show? I don't know. People say that a sound bath would be good for me, but I just love my theater. Go to the theater. It's like, for example, everybody tells me that I should be a vegan, but every morning I wake up with a craving for cheese. Don't mind it. Don't mind that. Don't judge yourself. Just have that slice of cheese. It is not really about belonging to a group anymore, Libra. That time is done. So we're not really belonging to a group here. We don't have to evolve ourselves out of one perspective on people into another. So we don't have to be like, who am I with? What should I say? I'm a social lubricant. Hello, I'm Libra. I will party with you and say what you perhaps think yourself. So I just mirror, mirror, mirror. It's not about that. It's just like, what has rubbed off on you for all these years? What has stayed with you through all these years? What are the different types of things that you love? You love romantic comedy? You love romantic comedy. You like the Spice Girls? You love the Spice Girls. There is no point in depleting, and sometimes very shallow things for a Libra mean a whole lot more than can be expressed. Taste in music, taste in food, what you love to wear. You love Prada, you love Prada. That's just how it is. And it's not about having other people teach you any different. It's not about some kind of community or some kind of almost like a churchy center telling you that you should be blueprinted exactly like this group, unless it is within you to do it. It is not a good time to enter new scenes. Gosh, it's not a good time to enter new scenes. It is not a good time to try and to make yourself somebody else. It is not a good time to make yourself nurtured and known for somebody who you are not to be. It is not a great time to pretend to be somebody else for somebody else. Babysitting other people. Babysitting other people, mirroring with somebody who doesn't understand and doesn't believe. It is not good to spread your knowledge or spread your frequency, your aroma, you know, your essence on things that just do not understand. You know, it is not a good idea here to try to shift your sexuality, try to enjoy somebody who doesn't really love you back. It is not good to smother yourself all over something. It's like you're spreading yourself thin, Libra. If you try to be somebody else, just own it. Own it and try not to think about what else is going on. So this is what the crux of this month is for me. Owning you. Owning, 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 owning. And being strong about who you are. And even if it doesn't matter to someone else, somebody without those issues will understand. You know? Even if you don't quite have those friends, they will come. They will come. Even if it's dog year, it's already sealed and done and dusted. They will be there when the time is right. Just connect yourself, join yourself up, and understand you as you. And that's all that's needed for now. Thank you very much, and I will see you next month. Scorpio. Hi Scorpio, thank you very much for being here. Oh wow, vibration is thick with meaning. There is something very, very, oh, so beautiful about you. We've got a little promise, a little temptation. We've got a kindness game and a not so kind game. We have very interesting variation with life if you still haven't trusted your instincts, if you're still questioning the meaning and the care that you experience in this world, if you still can't say no when you feel no, and if you're saying yes to things that you shouldn't have. Addiction cycles, we have Venus come into your sign and go back into Libra. You know, it's like we have like a little tickle of experience, a little tickle of delight, and then a sort of a sentient departure. We have something come in, it's like kiss you on the cheek and walk away. We have a potential relationship that doesn't flower, or we have a certain type of friendship that gives and then recedes. We might have a monetary or financial wave that comes in and dries up. We might have a promise and then nothing. So take those things, release them as they go. It is here, it is not here, okay. You are here, you're mine, or suddenly not mine, okay. You've come into my life to say goodbye, okay. You have entered my world, all to become somebody else. You have given me money and stability just to take it away. Or you have done all those things and you didn't want to perhaps own up to what you did. So the thing here is we're going through your 12th house. We're going through your unconscious karmic house. And the thing here is everything has to be galactic, impersonal, beautiful, divine, delicious, and just okay. You have got more than enough coming. You perhaps already had somebody come into your world, or somebody enrich you, or something happen that feels like glory, like diamonds, you know, and there is a promise. For a few of us Scorpios, there's a definite promising of a secure something. We have Venus coming up to Jupiter, security, diamond dust, you know, the feeling of the final understanding, the fathoming of something. It is more than that. It's like life has given you a present. You know, life has given you an opportunity. Life has given you a new force of itself that runs through you. You know, you could have a lot of mistakes in the past just dissolve. You can have a lot of fears just completely disconnect. But the thing here is just to let life have its way with you. Something rolls and then rolls past. That's okay. Somebody comes in and then goes to another person. It's fine. This money comes in and then it fades. You know, the account goes up, you think you won a lottery, and then you have a lot of bills. You have this new person come in and give you a optimum reality. It's almost like a lifetime change. You know, they come in, they spike, and then they leave. There's a wave. You have a presence about you here. A presence that sometimes is too good to be true. And with this type of energy sometimes come in possibilities that are not about you. You might actually attract somebody else's person here. You might attract somebody else's career. You might attract somebody else's money for nothing. People could be, for example, coming to your hair salon, not even wanting a haircut, not knowing why they wanted to come in. Just let it be. It's like you are magnetic, you're magnetizing, you're delightful. Work on that. Work on that. And also, if you could, time for prayer, time for sensuality, time for remorse, time for giving back to your ancestral roots, time to come back to reservation land, okay, for some people. So for example, if you have Native American ancestors, it's time to create pacts with the land again. It is time to create some type of communion with the past. It is time to say, I forgive you. It is time to see the greater picture of creation beyond your own me. It is time. And unless you are really devout, it is not really so good to suddenly ascend to guru state. But for some, It'll just naturally come. And how you know, Jupiter's in the last few degrees of your sign. It's already come to a head in your own sign. As we go into late October, November, it'll come to a head. So for example, you didn't know it, you were just working, really devout. Suddenly somebody goes, you're an expert, you're an expert, you are an expert. And you go, yeah, but it may not be what you think. It may not be what you think. So if you have been very devout, if you have been a devout studier of human mind, if you have been a devout architect, a devout lawyer, or just a devout human, you will be paid in big bucks or in big time. Some kind of karmic repay for you is on its way. And sometimes these waves of desire or these waves of innocence that you get when you're like, oh, I can't have that thing I thought I wanted to have, or that person was not for me. These have to be just let it go, let it go. You will have in November, December something else. Quite frequently this happens with us Scorpios. We get something and then it walks away. We don't trust it again. We don't trust. You gotta just let it go. Work on your presence. Work on your diligence. For some, if it's still about work, then work it out like that. For some, if it's still about your body and your physical strength, work it out. You might get amazing results during a time like this. 12th house workout, woof, really good, really good. You might shed a lot of weight here. You can get very, very beautiful here. You can get like very, very in perspective about your muscular structure during this time. But this is the thing. The waves, the aromas of somebody else's life, or somebody else's pleasure, or somebody else saying hello, sometimes just to say goodbye. Sometimes you see a prince, he's not a prince, he's married. You know, on occasion you might see somebody who comes in as a certain type of breath of fresh air, as a connective person, as a sister or brother, and they walk away, they walk past you. It's fine. You will reach it, you will reach it. Every one of you, I feel, at some point will see who you are. By the last degrees of Jupiter in your sign in November, you will be like, ah, right, I was wondering about that. So for example, it could be like, ah, okay, like say I worked at this job and then on the side I just used to really love fine art, you know, and somebody is knowing somebody who knows somebody else who needs somebody to work in their gallery space and help them with their art deals or something like that. It could be just totally weird like that. You will get chosen by the right people, you'll understand the right groups, you will be pulled in into the right feeling, you will be pushed maybe even a little bit by these neurotic doubts that you might have during October into the right strand of you. But the thing to do, and it's probably already happening with some of you guys, is not to get obsessed about having that pretty little thing. It's not to get neurotic about that which you might know already is limited or not for you. It's not to get obsessed about something that life gives you as a present. It's about having the time, the self-focus, and also the innocence, which is hard to generate for a Scorpio sometimes. The innocence to say, yeah, by the way, I don't mind. It's okay. To give back. To receive and to give, to be at ease with it all. Send your ex some flowers if it's her birthday, you know, send your friend a lovely note, even though you might not be friends anymore, you know, send this person a goodbye kiss anyway, you know, understand that on occasion with this type of energy, what comes in must come out, or what goes up must come down, and that is not, how can I say, for everything. But there's going to be maybe at least one or two phenomena during this time when you're on the brink and it's not there, or it's kind of coming up but it's not for you, or this person was available but they're going elsewhere, or this is not yours yet but it could be, or there's more than this available and you're still grasping for the small stuff. So take a minute, Scorpio, when you are carried away. I am entitled. I need this. I want this to be mine, or this is for me, or like I deserve this to be closed off. I want this sealed up. You know, I want this in the barrel. You don't have to store anything here. So it's like the washing through of things. We got blood in your sign. We've got Venus going through your sign. You know what this means to me? This means that your endocrine system, your all of these reproductive systems, you know, anything to do with your blood flow, lymph flow, is actually really navigating itself curiously. You know, it's healing itself. We got very nice Venus that are trying to Neptune. It is all cleansing itself. We've got a very mystical energy also on Cancer, so it's almost like a trine. It's not quite, but this water aspect is cleansing. So sometimes with such water, and also Venus going back to Libra, it's a tide of time. Let the tide be the tide. Let it be cleansing, let it be healing. If you don't want to, don't do it. If you don't have to, don't try. So it's about being like water rather than like earth. Thank you very much. I hope that you had fun. All the details in the caption below, and I'll see you next month. Bye. Hi Sagittarius, thank you very much for joining me. Paulina here, talking to your beautiful, loving, caring, delightful, delicious, despicably romantic and glorious self for the month of October. So October brings wealth, and it brings a lot of it for those Sagittarians that can now stand still and watch. Presence and diligence and a connection to your heart and your values Sagittarius. So your value system has to be spot on. What you mean and what you do is there, and also perhaps a militant edge to yourself is awakening now, as you can stand up for what you believe. You can classify what you do and do not want, and you can perhaps also bring back from the past the types of ideas or the types of discernments that are natural to you, to your people, to your country, to your code of conduct, and you will receive. So the righteous Sagittarian mind, the true connection, the true culture of you is developed, and it must now stand still to receive. There is a real deal feeling. The real deal. The real deal, of course, for you sometimes can be not quite what you think. So the real deal can occasionally evade. So for example, you might feel this person is not really the one, but it's okay, you know, they're kind of cool, this could be real. Don't do that. So for example, you may say, I'm just a stand-in person for this band, I don't really mind. It's not the real the real deal pays off if you are at the right place at the right time, and you have the power of presence and the power of compassion, and you're holding within your own strength and your own courage something even more than that. If you are taking people places, if you can now be the teacher just through your presence alone, that's the real deal. That's the real deal. Can you drop everything and just feel the meaning and the focus of your presence? Great. If you don't, try to take care of things. Okay, so out comes the broom, out comes the mop, and you got to basically mop up here. So who is there that's taking your time still? What's going on there in your heart? Especially I'm looking at the endocrine system during this time. So what are the different phenomena that's taking place that are just not for you, not for your liking? Why are you still there? Why are you still there? Why are you still at the job that doesn't mean anything to you? Why are you still talking to a person that's taking a heck of a lot of your time? And what do you do perhaps for certain types of festivities, certain types of organized events that you don't even care for? You come back tired. We are at a very, very, very lucid edge, and we have been for about a year. So the energy that keeps you awake, that energy that keeps you alive, that should now be understood and known. What perks you up and why? Why are you perked up by certain things naturally? Without drugs, without coffee, without anything. Why are you just naturally perked up? And why is it that you perhaps don't do enough of it? What makes you feel free? Like, for me, it's nature. Nature walks. I love nature walks. You know, for me, it's water. It's the sun. There's lots of different things that just naturally make you laugh and giggle, and then there's just lots of things that don't. So at the end of the day, are you tired? Are you depleted? Are you like angry at yourself? Or you don't even know why you're angry? Are you irritable? Take care of that. So don't take care of you cosmetically, like how can I balance with people? How can I make them feel like I'm not irritated? It's more about why are you irritated, and what is it that makes you feel that this untruth or this perpetrated behavior is easier than being happy within yourself. Why do you now perhaps consider certain people also not free or not connected as well to yourself? Have you thrown away or discarded or abandoned certain people? But are you like harboring or harvesting through or from people that don't really place you in their hearts? Did you discard perhaps a few very important people in your life over the last while? Have you, and why have you done that? And also, are you harboring or are you harvesting with people or through people that don't really mean a heck of a lot, but they're just easy and free, and you know, you can kind of like look at them and you kind of know them inside and out? And what is it that you are thinking and feeling when you're next to another? That's important. And if you're really deep Sagittarius, I wouldn't advise this for most ungrounded people, but why do you have certain Freudian slips or certain unconscious feelings, unconscious behaviors, or like itchiness, scratchiness, lack of attention span, or just need to do crazy things in public, maybe on the other scale of that, that are a sign of anxiety or a sign of inner fear that you perhaps don't want to admit? And what does that mean about your life? If you've got fear, if you have no presence, can you stand tall? Can you feel yourself? Does your voice feel like it just rolls off your tongue? Do you feel the pleasure of just being yours? Are you able and willing to just emit a frequency? Do you freely think, talk, and act? Do you feel yourself? Are you feeling who you are in the present time? No matter who is around you, and no matter what position these people hold, and no matter what is the social or the political or the physical or the ethnic context of this experience, what are the different feelings that you feel? Or can you just be strong? Are you? Are you? Do you exist? Are you embodied? That's the thing here. And how are you able to maybe reach out and over and expand a little bit on what you feel and connect to? Where is your inner freedom and courage taking you here? And are you able and capable of truly, truly, truly understanding your inner focus and truth at every given time? Or are you clouded? Are you confused? Are you distracted? Do you fear the feeling of connection? Do you fear the feeling of thought? Or the right conversation? Do you fear deep discussions about life? Are you still in freedom mode? That's not freedom at all. I want to go here, 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 away, 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 away from you. So try and trust. Trust people that are deeper, perhaps, than you. And on occasion, this is not true about just the group or the vulnerable people that you found or the feeling people that you've met. It's more like the people that just don't really even belong sometimes, but they just really hold that feeling of connection. Try to trust people with connection, no matter who they are. You know, so it's a certain type of, a certain brand almost of energy. It's not really now about work within a certain context. It's not so much right now about working with certain type of group or certain type of responsibility. Now it's more about fishing out that feeling of connection, and it's not superiority, it's not inferiority, it's nothing like that. It's just the feeling of grand connection. And that can happen between all of us, and it feels to me that it's up to you to start going through completely new cycles with us. So to me, it's not really looking like you need to step in line and have everything match now anymore. So perhaps it is not quite for you any longer about matching to a scene or having only people that help you with your industry and your growth. It is actually now about expanding out and walking between the lines with different frontiers, different people, different pictures, different organizations, different types of environments, but try to connect to this presence and connect to the presence in another. So it's like a grid of presence. Who's capable of carrying that presence now? And who is no longer perhaps able to do that? With the dog year, this is what happens with us sometimes. This is no joke. So sometimes certain people just cannot evade that feeling, but they hide from it. You know, they try. And then some people try for that feeling, but they have not got the courage or the charisma to carry it. So who you are naturally, Sagittarius, is a great teacher and learner. And with you being here, it's no mistake that perhaps much of you guys have really developed this over time. I mean, no matter how long you've been here, there's probably a part of you that is just this concentrated self, like a feeling of worth, of human worth. And that has to be explored and expanded throughout space and time. But here, without this feeling, you can't quite go on. So sometimes you might have these feelings during October, like you're in no man's land. Everything's kind of between space and time. Things get lost, information gets lost between people. You're not quite sure, you're not quite centered. It's a little bit like, whoa, what's happening over there? What's happening over here? And that's a kind of classic sort of Sagittarian phase. It's like, oh, I don't know what's happening. Serendipity is just all happening to me. But this is not about this. It is about using this time where you might not really know what's going on to center and to carry your own feeling of being humble, here, human, powerful, beautiful, connected, real, being real. And then from this feeling of being real, you manifest so much more. Thank you very much, Sagittarius. Have a fun October. If you'd like to know more about me or my services, it's all in the caption section below, and all the signs are there too. Thanks a lot. Bye. Hello, delicious Capricorn. Delicious Capricorn. Okay, so you have a lot on your mind, and some of it is not true. So we have to really discern here and just basically cut the process, even in a slightly clinical way. For example, it's very easy. All people of this ethnicity are this. Cut it out. All people that are gendered like this are most likely to do this. Cut it out. All my present, future, and past people, friends, have done this, or have deserved this, or have always had the tendency to do this. Just stop. Capricorn, we have to just clinically snip, snap, snap, and cut out every type of uncomfortable process. If you have gone too far, you might have a health issue on your hands. If you can, see a doctor. It's easy and interesting here to get surgical procedures or anything that needs to be cut off, or anything that needs to no longer be a burden on you. So medical procedures, medical interference, not always a good idea. During this month, it is. It's okay, you can. The thing here is not to involve yourself and other people if you don't quite have the formula ready. For example, all women are this. I'm gonna go date some women now. Not such a good idea. On the other hand, you might have a different formula, like, I believe that true love is coming. And then you see somebody and they're completely somebody unsuitable to you, but you just go for it anyway, because true love, you know, knocking on the door. Because you have decided it. So medical, clinical way of dealing with your past and your future and your now is ready to be implemented. So you're lucky like nobody else. Discernment is easy for you. Snip, 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 snip. That's not true, that's not true, that's not true, that's not true. And you just completely discern. The most powerful thing during this time is not to notice. Not to notice, just notice yourself. And it is hard not to notice sometimes. It's like, well, what do you mean? She was this and now she's that, or he did this and now he did that. What do you mean? Not to get connected on the spectrum of new rule making, like this person is always going to be this person is always going to be that. We're all studying, healing, connecting, disconnecting, reforming, refractaling during this time. It is a hard month. It is not that easy for most people during this particular friendly seeming Libra time. So if you can, try not to discern us and not to share discernment with us. If you can, just think, okay, I expected her to do this. She did not do this, she did that. Okay, let it be. For example, I did not expect this type of thing at this type of place. Great, let it be. For example, you would have gone to maybe a few places during a month like this usually, as October is kind of really friendly for navigating new spaces and frontiers. But the thing here is not to be the best and to know the most right now. It is just about looking at your private world, maybe at that little place of mind, not the expanded mind that Capricorn has, but the narrow mind, and to see how you can change it. For example, you have a business of your own, you know, or like it's not your own. Well, for example, okay, so you have a business as partially dependent on a lot of people or a big process to make it go. And then you never thought you could do it yourself in a very easy way where you just at a touch of a button delegate large sums of money. Maybe it is time. So maybe you thought, I could never do this alone. This is the only way I can do it. Now is the time to say, no, actually, I trust and I believe, and I feel that I could become more through letting the idea of this being even more powerful than it is now for me to slip by. Why not? It slips by, you catch that idea, you think about this perhaps a lot, and you create a new fractal of mind. So the thing here is making new fractals of mind. So for example, you met a person, you thought this person is, say, female, this age group, this type, you know, with this past. You have created for themselves a little picture in mind. It is not so good now to change anything about anybody else. It is just important to nurture yourself and your own thinking patterns. And also maybe there is something else about them that is completely out of the ordinary. Something comes into your mind that is completely out of the ordinary about them. Let life be unpredictable. Allow new patterns to form. Allow new trust patterns to form in your mind. Allow the impossible to become a possibility. Also allow the nurture of the past to be disintegrated in some way. Very nice time to cleanse. Very nice time to let go of your stuff. Very, very good time to no longer sit still when you are prone to sit still, to no longer meditate on the same thing that you've meditated on. It is good to no longer repeat certain types of affirmations and certain types of practices. So it's good to break down your process very gently, very kindly, however it suits you. It is good to change your system. It is very interesting to connect to new type of people. It is very, very curious and cute to start to listen and to even listen out for things that are out of the ordinary, out of the groups and situations where the ordinary is ordinary as ordinary as it gets. So ordinary has to become something else. And the idea of expectation has to change. And this means that what you expect your life to be eventually becomes something much greater. Expect the unexpected. And also listen out, because you guys are very good at hearing things and perceiving things. Listen out for things that are out there. Like, for example, this person gave up their job, didn't think they would be employed, suddenly became the CEO of a very famous company. Why? They just one day just tried to hand in their CV. They didn't know what they were doing. They just became a head of a company very fast, for example. Or like this person that never knew who they were, like for example an orphan, never knew their parents, suddenly found their parents at the ripe age of 30 or something like this. Or for example, a person that has never been able to make it as an artist suddenly got discovered, you know, at the ripe age of 50. You know, and now their art pieces are selling all over the world. Keep in mind that these things are possible. So you can really stretch your idea of perfection during this time. You can stretch the idea of what is possible and what is likely, but also not expect results just yet. So the seeds are seeding. So you're like seeding that idea of the impossible being possible, or the previously imperfect being perfect, or the seemingly disconnected being connected, or the seemingly not able to be. So you basically are creating the idea, the base. It's like you're creating a soil for these seeds to thrive. So in saying that, you have to be patient. So for example here, you must think, you must think positively, you know, and at the same time not expect constant proof of result. Also another thing is to perfect your craft, perfect your systems, perfect your house, perfect any kind of way of doing anything you're doing, and to try things that are less ordinary, but also to involve yourself in things that are serendipitous, where you're not like, say, looking online for a way to do things. Of course you can. Trust another person to come up with a concept that you never expected. Trust another human being or another entity or something outside of yourself to give you advice or to give you some kind of navigation that previously was not really thought about. So keep an eye out, keep an ear out. What is everybody saying? What is everybody into? What are the new ways of doing things? Or what are the new upcoming ways of thinking about things? What are the new types of patterns that people are evolving into and through? And how can those benefit you? So thank you very much. Try things on, try new fashion, try new magic, and try new things. Thank you very much, Capricorn. Enjoy, and I hope that you feel connected and free during the month of October. Bye. Hello, Aquarius. You are hilarious. Aquarians are having a very difficult time. You know, you don't have to shut anybody out to get anybody in. Aquarians, it is not about buy and sell with us anymore. So sometimes it is about that. You may not quite feel it, but something's on the rise. You may not quite understand it, but something is about to be given to you. And sometimes you can take yourself out of a situation into another before it's time. Aquarian people, you have to trust it and you have to stick around, and perhaps one thing doesn't mess up another. So for example, during this time you can implement different things. So for example, here you can have a job, a hobby, and another hobby. You can here perhaps have friends from different groups. Perhaps you can also be in polyamorous relationships if those are right for you. That can be very, very hard for most people, but for some wise people that can actually be possible. If you can here start to really recognize how multiplicity is right, and how things don't have to shut off in order to accept something else. So for example, you could have a certain political agenda, but at the same time you can of course discuss ideas of the opposite political mind. So you don't have to really stick to one thing. You can mix the unmixable, you can think the previously unthinkable, and you can push the status quo by just accepting. Acceptance is what is needed from you. So for example, you have a friend, the other friend doesn't like that friend, you don't have to choose. You can just bring them together as one and say, look, you guys are both my friends. Aquarius, you are very innocent, very polite, and very free flow during this time. So what you do is definitely up to you, but the thing is, you're teaching us to know that sometimes the previously unacceptable things are totally acceptable for us now. So when it comes to the status quo, when it comes to normality, when it comes to stability, when it comes to what is normal to another person or not, when it comes to what is right to another person or what is real to another person or not, you know the thing, and it is just time to no longer having to compromise with those matters. It's like, yeah, well, for example, I'm a queer man, and I've enjoyed like 7 or 8 years of just masculine relationships, but at this point in time I'm also kind of falling in love with a woman, and that is fine as well. So you're bringing it all together, and you don't have to trust one way or the other. It's like, for example, I've always eaten vegan and now I'm introducing milk into my diet again just because. Or for example, I've never been vegan, but now I'm going to try that, and sometimes I'm going to have vegan meals and sometimes I'm going to just try something else. It is totally okay. It is fine to be you. It is fine to be completely able and free to do as you like, but is it really peaceful though? Is it peaceful? So sometimes you can here spend a long time developing some certain idea. So for example, polyamory. Or it could be, for example, the universal ideas on sex. It could be fashion, it could be art, it could be music, it could be, like, for example, I want to play cello, but now I want to play the violin as well, and I want to transfer, you know, all my time I've spent learning to play cello into violin or something like that. Or like, say I'm into musical theatre, I'm no longer into the arts, and I'm going to somehow join the two. Are you really making sense? So the thing here is not to fall into any kind of romantic cultural phenomena here. So not to become some kind of stereotype or archetype or some kind of fighter for a scene or for an ideal that isn't really a matter to you. Sometimes it is just all about personal choice. And on occasion there will be 1 or 2 Aquarians that will walk up there and hold the flag and make it about all of us. Like, it would be like queer rights. You know, do you really want to be, for example, an actor right now just to prove that you can be an actor? Do you really have to do that? Are you really, really able with your time, for example, to make your hobby your work right now? Are you really going to have the time to, for example, sew a million different outfits just to become like some kind of a new fashion designer? Maybe you want to recycle plastic bags and have this huge mission. Right now, because we're in Libra, missions right now, missions are temporary pursuits and can sometimes be later laughed at. So it's like, you know, we've got like 80s fashion, 70s fashion. There's certain fashion trends that are big and got big and became lucrative for other people, but they're just not culturally adjusted, or they're just timed. You know, they're not universal trends. Like they're not, how can I say, they're not classical trends. And there's those things that just never ever end. You know, there's just things that are classical. There's like classic trends. And the thing for you guys is, I feel that you can very easily slip under the radar in the future if you really connect yourself to a non-classical trend during this time, or try to bombard people with what you think. So the thing is, yes, you can combine the previously uncombinable. For some of you guys, I feel it is not just therapy, it is the way of your world, but do you really want to be one of those people? So yeah, creative connection is there. Protection from humiliation is there. You're not humiliated here for what you do, not likely anyway. And at the same time, though, you can now give what you think you need to give, or you can be a perpetrator of a certain type of movement, or a certain type of ideal, or a certain type of craft. Can you really see it 20 years from now? Do you know who you are through what you do, or are you just wanting to just stand up for these people? Are you, for example, standing on a corner, standing there with a flag or a picket sign, or like, for example, a collections box or some kind of slogan because you want to? How is it impacting your family line? What is the greater nurture and need for you to do this? And this is not me criticizing anything that you do here. It is just about knowing that you have the power to connect the unconnectable, to say the unspeakable, to walk the line between worlds, to say everything is one, to create creative ideas with people that are on the other side of life. You can gamble here. Get money from gambling, you can. You can. You can get a lot of strength and income, or a lot of luck from things that are frivolous. You can create a huge mission, you can create a huge frontier, you can make something happen. But by doing that something, will you later want to recognize that as your path? Are you creating something timely? Or are you just beside yourself about something else, and you're pushing yourself towards a frontier that perhaps never really meant or will not ever mean anything to you, but you want to feel meaningful, or you want to feel free? So for example, you had a bad story with your mom, you know, she told you off about things you never did, you know, perhaps you have like your grandmother involved in your unconscious psychology, and you have a lot of problems with her too. And then, for example, if you're a woman and you never really had the nurture from the feminine, you start disconnecting from that altogether and design for yourself a very androgynous, queer perspective on life without looking to the psychology of your unconscious mind. This is not for everyone, it's some people. It's not everybody, this is not my idea. It's just something that can happen. Okay, so for example, somebody done you wrong, you had one bad experience, and now you're carrying the picket sign of some proportion that is not appropriate or proportionate to the greater world. You know, you can be here smashing down walls. You can be here completely changing someone's life. You can be here, Aquarius, completely shifting society. But do you wonder why you're there? And how is it really blessing you in the future? And what are the karmic implications of it all? We've got Saturn in your karmic house. You're building something. Do you want to build it forever? So for example, you're standing on the side of the road with a picket sign saying, let's say for example, men are this or men are that. This is just an example. You know, so this is like a rape culture, one of those rape culture demonstrations. And perhaps something happened to you, or even a friend of a friend, and you're very, very raw about it. But did you know that, for example, around the corner, you've actually got a perfect masculine counterpart coming your way? Perhaps you have something kind of like you cannot see, you're blindsided to it, but you've actually got somebody coming in. And say doing things on a ruckus or rambunctious side can actually block you off from receiving these gifts from life later. Or maybe you were meant to be part of a primarily masculine collective, and you're blocking yourself from those possibilities. So please have a look how your very sharp or very self-righteous views out of the need for importance can block you off from later growth. In other news, I feel for Aquarians, it's such a nice time, such an odd giving time to give back and not to stay behind. It is good to show up. It is good to give back. It is good to juggle many people, juggle many things. But have a look at how your soul is being. Right now, it's not very easy to see the crux of your being. Sometimes it is easy to see the spine of what you do, and sometimes it just dilutes and becomes something else or somebody else's spine. So it's very, very important to juggle everything as you are, because you might have many, many, many people and ideas connected to you. So multiplicity, multitude is your middle name during this month. But on the other hand, also create space for that tantric deep involvement with your soul and your heart and the inner world that is beside gender, that is beyond, you know, God or the idea of that which is holy. It is beyond everything that you see. It is just within your own skin, and maybe even beyond it, somewhere deeper to the point where you can't even feel your own body or your own center. So what is that depth that you're able to really connect to and bless during such a time? And how can you find a center in nothing? This is quite hard. You're ascending to your next sign of Pisces. So how can you find the center with a no center, with a no thing, nothing? So thank you very much, Aquarius. I hope this wasn't too much for you. Enjoy your transit for October and have fun. All the details in the caption below, and I'll see you next month. Bye. Pisces, it is the time. It is the time of times, to be timed, timely and punctual. Oh, look at the time. The time for you guys is ripe. It is right to give back to another. It is a very interesting relationship building time. It is interesting time to now nurture, to connect, to seclude, and to say mine, my, me, and you, my. It's also a very curious time for femininity, things of the past, knitting socks for somebody else, doing things for someone new, birthing a child, or being with children or adults. It's actually a very, very curious time to suddenly wake up to the needs of other people. It is a very interesting time to suddenly hear and listen in to what another person does. It is a very magnetizing time, and it's also a very sensually peculiar time, but be careful of walking the road of sensuality based on somebody else's technique or somebody else's practice. So the thing is to really absorb, enjoy, to really communion with another person, to really deeply understand, to really deeply revel in somebody else's mind, to really pick apart somebody else's life, to help somebody else with their knitting, to help somebody else with their world, to help somebody else with their thoughts, and to really, really deeply sink inside someone else's world and observe them as if they were like a nonsensical being, perhaps something you don't quite listen to, understand, but just something that feels you and fills the air around you with grace and gratitude and kindness and connection and thought. So it's very dissolving, solving, connecting, relationship building, and a new beginnings type of time. If you are in thought of another person, it is good. If you're thinking about birthing a child, it's very good. If you're thinking about contributing to society and to also very humble groups of people, you know, your ancestors and your children and the people that are next to you, it's very good. But you don't have to really belong. That's the thing. You can involve and at the same time disappear. You can be interested and at the same time go elsewhere. So perhaps what you are paying most attention to is a fleeting phenomena, what is not for you to dissolve or solve through all the time. So perhaps something that you're solving and you are tending to might be about to close. It is a possibility that something that you are interested in or that you are taking part in is meant to shift into something new, or perhaps it is your karma that is being dissolved or resolved right now, and it could be a temporary experience, but in the same sense, the temporary nature of that experience can bring you more elsewhere. So very interesting to go into a certain type of job or group or opportunity, and then to know to walk out, to walk in, and to go out. So the thing is in and out, Pisces. So it's like the mirroring feeling. It's the 8th house of esoterics, power, focus, and sensuality, and sexuality as well. So it is the life and death time. So walking in and tempting yourself to walk out. It's very good to hold distance here and to watch something evolve over time. Very nice time for kids. So the thing here is to basically walk in to check in and to walk out and check out. The thing here is not to get too involved in any type of moment, because here time is very, very mystical and powerful and marvelous for you. And it could be that the moment lasts forever. Like you can lay in bed for hours, you can stare at this person forever, you can do the same thing forever, you can have the same type of experience forever. The thing is to have the experience, watch it grow, watch it evolve, and be able to get rid of that experience or that feeling of obsession with something or somebody, because that's what keeps you here on this planet, you guys. You are the greatest. You're the greatest, Pisces. You're the greatest one. You are like the end. You're like the daddy of the zodiac. You're like the grandfather, I should say. So you're like the energy of the dreamer between all space and time. So the thing is not to become obsessive with things. It's like you have planted the seedlings already, perhaps. And we were all kind of your seedlings there in Virgo time. And here you are, checking in on those seedlings. You're watching them closely, maybe for a little while, and then you step back or allow yourself to have enough frontier to step back and into something else. So the thing is here not to become disturbed or concerned or obsessed or involved. It is not about fire and flame and need and power and craving. It is neither about true love or true recreational connection. It's neither about the animal nor the angelic self. It is not about past, present, or future. It is just basically about being here and now, being needed, being recommended to or for another person, being the father or the mother type, being the birther, the creator, or the person that creates a business or a brand, being the business person or the crafts person, being the feeling part or phenomena, being the person without whom another person would not do without, being that archetypal strength, being that archetypal now, being the crux of things, being the holding of things together. And then while you are maybe pretending to not notice, you will be pulled away. So it could be that you are there, but then something else takes you and pushes you into a different dimension. So it could be that you are looking for or looking with or looking after something, and then something else happens and you need to go with that something else, and sometimes you won't be able to help yourself. So how can I explain this to you, Pisces? It is like you are tending to the future / the past. And the most capable of you will know and understand that sometimes through this karmic care and karmic need giving, or giving to someone else's needs, and watching over and looking after something or somebody, or tending to creating or crafting, something happens with us and we can have something new, something even more different, something even more exciting somewhere out there. There could be somebody else looking for us while we're tending to somebody. There could be another opportunity behind closed doors. And this is why sometimes Pisces has a bad name, because they are perceived to be liars, or they are maybe a little bit narcotic or neurotic for other people. And the reason for that is because sometimes they know that when they pour themselves out to one thing, it cannot be for long. That's a quantum field there. It's like they define something too much, it cannot be for long, and something else is behind the scenes happening. So it is very, very easy here to dote on a person while somebody else is taking your time. It is very easy here to, for example, care for your mother when your job is growing, or like the prospects of work are growing. For example, it could be very easy here to harvest, you know, or to perhaps idealize your children, you know, or to idealize the idea of creation of a child. So desire to create a child, Or for example, your art business is going through the roof, or maybe where there's other people available to you that previously were not. So it is a foreground, background type of thing. So it's like on the foreground you have something happening that is completely taking your time, and in the background there's an interesting phenomena happening, but this is the thing, is not to feel guilty about it. And this sometimes can happen to anybody, really. It's like when you are concentrated on one person, one particular aspect in your life, as this time does create a great concentrating ability within yourself, there could be 2 or 3 other people or 2 or 3 other aspects that are actually taking you in a different dimension in a background. There could be other thoughts, other stories woven in the process of that extreme concentration. So don't be afraid. During this time, yes, it might be that, for example, you're working very hard, you're very connected and very committed to your life, and at the same time you want to be somewhere else. That's okay. It's fine. It's fine. For example, you're really involved with somebody's story, and on the background there is somebody else's story that you overhear that you're more interested in than the story that you're paying attention to. For example, if you're in love and you're very involved and you're even thinking of marriage or partnership, there could be someone else on the horizon that you may not truly perceive yet, or there could actually really be on the horizon for them. So things that are in the background, things that are in the foreground are different things. And as we all know, sometimes when you define something or somebody, after it's defined, when it's defined, it disappears or its meaning lacks. So if you want to, maybe concentrate on whatever you feel like you want to concentrate on. But sometimes, for example, if you're trying to define the presence, a person, a real tangible human being, and you want to become older with this person, become wiser with this energy, chances are with this type of energy, as we have in the sky now, it will disappear, or it will become something that crumbles, and then you will have something on the peripheral that can happen outside of that. So maybe you are concentrating on a certain type of person, which then becomes almost like a thing of the past, just due to the intensity of your time and attention. So who and what you give time and attention to will flower, it will grow, but also see if it is in your best interest to obsess or become upset over something. So try to delegate matters purely. Try to delegate matters purely, Pisces, and try not to want too much, because sometimes what you want is not that during this time. It's like a room of mirrors, smoke and mirrors. You know, it's like what you think you want is not what you want, and who you think you like is not who you like, or what you feel you want to conquer is not what you're going to conquer, and what you believe you are is not who you are, and so on and so forth. So take this time with a pinch of salt, and know that life is never what it seems when you define it. Thank you very much. Enjoy this time, and I will see you next month. Bye.